This is a short tutorial on how to use footnotes and create a bibliography using the Chicago Manual of Style. All right, the first thing we need to understand is, let's look at this document. This is an example of someone who has used the Chicago Manual of Style. And in their writing, the course of their writing, you see this number 1 highlighted in yellow. That is the first footnote. And a footnote is a raised number after a sentence or after a quotation that denotes the first time the writer of the paper is inserting credit to information that they borrowed from some source. And it is a raised small number that is inserted in your document. And for our example, it's highlighted in yellow, but in your writing of your paper, there will be no colors. It is just the superscript number. And if you'll look at the bottom of the page or the foot of the page, you'll notice a corresponding number. However, if you look closely, that corresponding number 1, which is the same as the first footnote number 1, is not small and it's not a superscript. It is a full-size number. And if you look at the full information, it is a full citation of where the information came from for that source of information. And normally in other styles you would find that full citation at the end of the paper. And that's what's different about the Chicago use of footnotes. It is at the foot of the same page where you are citing a source. And as you get more familiar with using footnotes and citing sources, you'll begin to understand where the information comes from. Let's look at another page where we have examples of continued footnotes. All right, let's look at number 2. And in looking at this is just a quotation that is being cited. So I want to look at the foot of the page because that is the beauty of Chicago Manual of Style. You can look quickly and get that full citation to understand where the information is coming from. So I'm going to look at my footnote that corresponds with number 2 superscript, and I have a full-size number 2, and I have the author, Helen Castor. Now what's different about the full citation at the foot of the page as opposed to the bibliography is at the foot of the page, the author name is not reversed as in other styles of citing. It is the first name, Helen, followed by the last name. And that's only at the foot of the page. When you are creating your bibliography for this research paper that you're doing, you will take all of your footnote cited information and you will put that in your bibliography, but it will be in the normal way that you are used to seeing a citation. The author name will be last, Castor, Helen, and we will get to that a little bit later. But okay, let's continue talking about that second citation. So we have the author, Helen Castor. We have in italicized script, we have the title of the book. And I know it's a book because I'm looking at the place of publication, I'm looking at the publishers, I'm looking at the date of publication, and I'm looking at the page number. So I know that this came from a book that Helen Castor wrote. That is footnote number 2. Let's look at footnote number 3. And it is not a paraphrase information. It is a quotation from, who is it from? Ibid. What does Ibid mean? It means, in Latin, in the same place. And that means that footnote number 3 is identical footnote to number 2, the one preceding it. So we know that footnote number 3 is the same author, the same source. It's the book. Same publishing information. The only difference is the page that it came from. So that is page 148. We are on another page. We are on to footnote number 4. As you recall, we left off footnote number 3 with Ibid, the identical information from the previous citation from Castor. All right, as we can see, footnote number 4 is again citing a quotation from a source at the bottom, off foot of the page, by Vincent Redstone. Remember, it is when you use it, the author's name at the foot of the page, you are using first name, then last name. And we have that full citation, and looking at this information, it looks like a website. However, because I know JSTOR, it is a database. All right, so let's move on to the next citation. Footnote number 5. There, Castor claims, oh, we're familiar with the source Castor. So they are quoting something or paraphrasing something that Castor claimed in the book. So let's look down at number 5. And if you look at the citation, it is very shortened. It's abbreviated. We don't have her first name. We don't have a full title of the book. Was that the same book? Yes, it was the same book, and let's go back and just double check that. Where is that information? There it is. Let's look at the title of the book. The full title is Blood and Roses, One Family's Struggle and Triumph During the Tumultuous Wars of the Roses. All right, so let's go back to our footnote number 5. All right, because this is, again, the beauty of using Chicago style of footnotes. When we have a repeat of information of a previous source, we shorten that information. And as we saw before, because it was immediate, when we used Ibid, because it was immediately after our cited full source, we could just say Ibid with the page number. However, because we have a break from footnote number 3, which was Ibid, we have Vincent Redstone. So now on footnote number 5, when we are using the previous source, Castor's source, because we already have fully cited it on another page, we can use a shortened version, not the really short version, Ibid, because it is a break in the succession of information. So we are going to just use the author's last name, an abbreviated form of the title, just Blood and Roses, and a page number, and that will cover all of the information. The final portion of the tutorial will cover the bibliography. All right, let's look at our bibliography, and you'll see it is very familiar looking. It is the formatting is similar, if not identical, to how you cite other sources using other citation styles. All right, we have Helen Castor again, but as you'll notice in the bibliography, Castor, last name comes first. Castor, Helen. And it, again, as in other citation styles, the bibliography is alphabetical. There's an indentation on the second line, double space between citations, and that will cover the information.